more thing. That's also fighting game related. So when you said that you were having trouble doing the Guile, the Sonic Boom, just before you got this information, when I heard any rumors about fighting games, like Street Fighter fighting games or Mortal Kombat fighting games, all of it seemed plausible to me because you had those hacked versions of the arcade cabinets that were in your 7-Elevens all over America.
Yeah.
And I remember one in particular for Street Fighter where you could do midair fireballs with Ryu.
You're talking about the Rainbow Edition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I if it has a name, great. At the time, it was just the hacked.
So
Street
not only
Fighter
does it
2.
have a name, it very quickly. So it came out before Championship Edition, and it's a Taiwanese hack. I believe it's Taiwanese, where they just bought a bunch of Street Fighter 2s and then ripped off EPROMs and reburned their version of the game on there. And the things that they did was they made it faster.
Yes.
They made it so that you could play as the boss characters, and then it allowed you to throw fireballs in air. And then one really wacky thing is if you push start, you would just change characters in the middle of a match.
I remember that too. Okay. So all of that.
Yeah.
I found one of those at an arcade.
Yeah.
Or not an arcade, at a 7-Eleven, a convenience store. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing, and this is sort of the point of the episode. When you see that, when you're 11, you walk into a 7-Eleven, you played Street Fighter 100 times, and now you see somebody shooting freaking fireballs with Ryu in midair and changing characters with the start button.
Yeah.
Anything seems possible if that seems possible. So
Yes.
So let me put a pin in this so I could tell my Mike Tyson story. There's this thing about Mike Tyson where he for a time he was so crazy that any story that you ever heard about Mike Tyson, you would believe is plausible because well, it's Mike Tyson, anything can happen. Okay, unpin. That's the thing with these fighting games. Once you saw that, okay, and then remembering Negative World from being a kid, it was like, if you want to tell me that you could have Mortal Kombat characters in Street Fighter, I'll believe it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You want to tell me that you can have Street Fighter characters in Mortal Kombat? I'll believe that too. Anything is possible because I saw something that I had heard about, midair fireballs with Ryu, but hadn't actually experienced. Oh, and by the way, one last thing, when I was at school asking about that particular thing, like, hey man, where is it where you can see these Ryu midair fireballs? Like, we're gonna do this. Everybody
right
freaking
through
forgot.
this bead curtain.
That's right. Some guy's got a van out in the parking lot, and I think it's in there somewhere.
It's the rumor van.
The rumor.
Just trust it.
It says it in spray paint on the side.
Yeah.
That free fireballs here. So, but then nobody could remember exactly. It's like, it's this 7-Eleven at these cross streets, because you're 10, you don't know streets or anything.
Yeah, of course not.
No, I remember we were at some store and my mom gave me a quarter and then it was there. It's like, well, that's great. I just need to go to every store in our town to figure that out. So anyway, but so that was the one, the Ryu midair fireballs, and then the Mortal Kombat version of that. And I don't know if this was a glitch or what. I think you're going to educate me on this, but where you could do multiple fatalities during the fatality thing and babalities at the same time.
Yeah.
And I remember watching a guy create like 1,000 babalities. So there's babies all over the screen.
Yes.
And then a fatality happening at the same time. And I was like, that is sorcery. Like, how are you doing that? I could just barely get off a fatality and you're doing like a
10
whole,
in a row.
Yeah, it's like juggling or something.
Yeah.
It was like incredible. So do you know about, I know you know about that, but was that as official as the Taiwanese thing, or is it something different?
So quickly to button up that Street Fighter thing, all the implements of Rainbow Edition, it's called Rainbow Edition because the Street Fighter 2 logo was in like a weird rainbow looking. It wasn't really rainbow, it was just kind of like a weird like multicolored thing, and it got the nickname Rainbow Edition. That game began to outsell Street Fighter 2 to operators because like it just drew more money. So then Capcom was like, oh, we got to do something about this. And that's why they made Turbo and Championship Edition and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So here's one example of many that we'll hopefully all remember of rumors and stuff that become real. They become part of like gameplay enhancements. And this is one of them. But Rainbow Board wasn't a rumor. Like that did exist. But just Capcom like took ideas. It's so weird if you think about it. Like they made the game, their ideas. Another company came in, just slightly tweaked their ideas and made some of them better. And then Capcom was like, wait a minute. These are our ideas. So now we're going to take your ideas that you took from us, and we're going to make Street Fighter 2 better, which is neat. Your Mortal Kombat 2 thing, so that's you were very lucky and got to play a version 1.0 or before. So obviously arcade boards are not downloadable games that you get on Xbox Live or whatever. So anytime a game... back then, an arcade game would come out, and there's usually test locations. Your friend Ryan Scott lived next to one of the most famous ones in the country, at Golfland, where all Capcom games would go to test. So those games will come out, and then like they'll play test them using the public. So like, this character's too strong, this character's too weak, or hey, we can do 30 fatalities and like this isn't supposed to happen. We should figure this out.
Right. Yeah.
These fatalities are keeping other kids from putting more quarters in. We need to figure this out. So they did and patch that out. But again, like you have to, if you're the arcade operator that has that board, like you have to mail your board to Midway and have them reprogram it by giving them new chips and all that stuff. But yeah, like since we're talking about Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and all that stuff, like to me, like video game rumors and rumor culture and all that stuff, like they go hand in hand with fighting games. Like to me, it's the epicenter. The big one from Mortal Kombat 1 was Reptile. Like, and the fact, the way that they hid Reptile in the game, where like they give you these like really cryptic clues, like look to La Luna, look to the moon, or like you must be flawless in your victories. So you have to get two flawless victories, And then I forget how they wrote for how to do a fatality, but they explained you need to do a fatality, all this stuff. And then the way it worked was if you're playing on the pit and you saw like a silhouette shadow going over the moon, which like had some crazy statistic of happening, like 1 in 30 matches on the pit stage or something like that. Then if you do these things, double flawless victory, do a fatality, then you're challenged by this totally secret character in the game, which is just a ninja palette swap. It's just a green Sub-Zero or green Scorpion. And he has Scorpion and Sub-Zero's moves. But in 1992, in this game that already has fatalities, which the fatalities themselves were rumors and spread that way.
Yeah, they
so
were.
Like the entire culture of Mortal Kombat was like an ultra realistic looking bloody fighting game that has tons and tons and tons of secrets for you to find. So it's like, sign me up, guys. Mom, I need another $6 in quarters to throw in this machine.
Right. And it's like, why didn't somebody think of that beforehand? It's like, oh, if we sort of perpetuate this rumor culture and the possibility that there's additional content, kids will put more money into attempting to figure it out. Definitely.
And it worked. It worked so well. So by the time Mortal Kombat 2 comes out, like you already have like a full year, and back in the early 90s, like a full year of a video game being popular at the arcades, like it feels like 10 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a while.
Yeah, so like you have all these rumors that were building and boiling to a point, and then Mortal Kombat 2 comes out, and now it's a whole new thing. It's all these new secret. So they've tripled the number of secret characters. Now instead of each character only having one fatality, they have 2 to 3 fatalities, a babality, and a friendship. And I remember the first time seeing the first time I ever saw a fatality, like anyone has that story, like you're just like, what? He just ripped his head off, and there's a spinal cord.
Time for me to tell my fatality story, which is that it's my 13th birthday. We're at Magic Mountain, and I, as a gamer at heart, I wasn't so interested in the roller coasters as much as I was in the arcade that was there. And
We've all been there, pal.
And I wandered into the arcade, and there's all these kids crowded around something. And I didn't see what it was, and I was like, what the hell are all these kids doing? And it just sounds so cinematic, but it actually happened. I sort of literally wedged my way through to figure out.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not going to listen to anything you have to say. Just show me the fatality.
So I get up to the front, and I got right up to the front of the group of people who were watching right at the moment that somebody pulled off the Sub-Zero fatality for the first time.
Yeah.
And the combination of how gruesome it was, along with the fact that the original Mortal Kombat used digitized graphics, so it actually looked more real than anything that had come before then, made me certain that the police were going to come and arrest all of us.
We're watching a snuff picture. We got to get out of here.
We're all going to jail.
Yeah.
I was 13 at the time, I think. And then once the police didn't come, I was like, I want to play this game, and I want to rip everybody's heads off. That's what I want to do. That's how
Because how can you not?
That's how I'm going to spend my summer, is just learning how to rip people's heads off. So that, and to your point, and also with the theme of the show, when you see that and you're like, oh, so there's something new that is possible with video games that I didn't know was possible before. So it opens up your mind to all sorts of other possibilities. And when you're told something,
I think the way you said it, like now anything is possible.
Now, when you're told that something might exist, you're like, well, they did allow you to rip people's heads off and have their blood dripping spine. So if they can do that, they can do anything.
Yeah, totally. Before we move away from fighting games, there's a couple things I want to say about this whole era of gaming history, and obviously I have a deep, deep fondness for it. But special shout out to a game called Bloodstorm, which is the sequel to another game called Time Killers, which these are not great fighting games. I'll argue Bloodsport's a better playing game than Time Killers, but both of them are not super good. But Bloodstorm like takes the concept of like secrets that Mortal Kombat did, that's really kind of popularized, and just goes so far overboard with them. Like it has like 30 hidden characters, and they're all like name swaps and palette swaps. There's a few that are legitimately like all new characters.
Some work went into
it. There's like ridiculous amounts of different ways that you can kill people. My favorite, like if you Google if you have any interest in bad fighting games at all, or just this period of arcade history, like Google this stuff. But there's an announcer who, a fighting game announcer, and there's these codes that you can do where he like says shit. He makes fun of the other player, and one of them, like I'll never forget, like I own Bloodstorm. I bought a board of it, and I love it. But having to figure all these things out, like I'm an adult doing this, like I'm in my 30s at the time, and I'm like getting hand cramps trying to do all these things. But one of them, like you put in it's like a 16 button code, and then the announcer just goes, "Bitch," and like if I would have seen that when I was 10, are you kidding? I would have been so totally so pumped. And the other thing I want to say about Mortal Kombat in general, are you familiar with the EJB codes? Does that ring a bell to you at all?
No.
This is awesome. So Ed Boon, one half of the initial brain force that is Mortal Kombat. Ed Boon is still with Mortal Kombat to this day. He's still the #1 boss. John Tobias left. So Ed Boon is considered, as a programmer, he was the main programmer of Mortal Kombat. He's like one of the best at the time. And you can make the argument that the guy did not know how to make AI, because if you play Mortal Kombat against the computer, you just die. Like it's not. But he was in other aspects of coding, he was like a genius, and he still does it to this day. So obviously, the guy knows what he's doing. But he, in every arcade version of Mortal Kombat, he hid a code that you could put in without putting in a quarter or anything. It's a code you do using the block buttons. Google it. It's hard to do, but you use player 1 block button and player 2 block button, and it's a sequence that you do. Every one of these games has it, and it unlocks a secret menu called the EJB menu, where you can watch all the endings. You can watch demonstrations of all the fatalities. There's like a little secret message that he wrote to his wife and kids in there. All this stuff came out in like 2016. So he hid these secrets from the public from 1992, and then every other Mortal Kombat arcade release. Yeah, and just held on to him. And then one day, he just got a wild hair, and on Twitter, goes like, "Hey, by the way, these games that you've been playing for like 30 years, by the way, you haven't found all the secrets in them. Here's the AJB codes." And then he says, after that, there's still more stuff to be discovered in these games that you still haven't found. So like in his head, rattling around, and by all means, he could have released the EJB codes, because that was real, and I could do it. I'll show you on my Mortal Kombat machine. I can do it. But like he could have just said, just to keep us now grown ass man children, like with our wheels turning, like, oh, there's more to find, and like he's just fucking with us.
It could be,
But that's Mortal Kombat. Like that's part of the magic of Mortal Kombat, is like them putting Kano and Sonya in the test menu of Mortal Kombat 2 just to fuck with you,
just to mess with
and to make you think that there's more things to uncover, which is to me just genius, and it's one of the reasons why I have such a fondness for that whole series.
All right, so I have 2 Mortal Kombat stories and then 1 Street Fighter story, and then I guess we can move on. So Mortal Kombat story number 1 is that the stuff with Sonya and Kano, that was in video game magazines, which used to be, they used to include codes in the magazine. That's one of the reasons you would buy them.
Definitely.
But with the Sonya and Kano thing, they were either in the dark or in on the bit.
Yeah.
Because I specifically remember reading like reader emails in I think an episode of GamePro that I borrowed from you as a kid. And the reader email was like, my brother said that he figured out you could actually play Sonya, and here's the thing that he did, and it would work. And then the response from GamePro was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. We'll get back to you on that or whatever. And then, of course, later on, they said that the actual answer to that is they just didn't have the memory to include Sonya and Kano. That's why they kept them out of there. So I think that it's kind of definitive that they're not in there. Although, man, wouldn't that be the ultimate reveal if Ed Boon was like, so remember the Sonya Kano thing? Well, do this button combination. You can play them. So
it's 2039, and I think it's finally time to tell you guys how to do this.
It served its purpose.
Yeah.
So.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, and I'm back with another Laserdisc review. You got it. It's Van Damme season around here, and other parts of the world as well. So Death Warrant. If I hold it like this, yeah. Death Warrant, starring, of course, John Claude Van Damme, right? He's the best. He's the fucking best kicker, best actor, best dance kicker, best actor who can kick. The whole fucking thing, man. So Van Damme, in Death Warrant, he is he's a cop, right? But like he's like a different kind of cop. He's a play it at his own rules and his own pace kind of cop, right? So, what he does in the beginning of the movie is he fucking, like, there's this ugly ass criminal named the Sandman, right? And he does all the Sandman stuff, like you bring me a dream and all that shit, right? He does our boy shoots him like 7 times, right? In the beginning of the movie. And he lives, which is like, what? Right? Like, he's not Jason or nothing, right? So, Sandman killed his partner, okay, right? Sandman killed John's partner, and so he tries to kill him, doesn't. We talked about that, 7 bullets, doesn't get the job done in the movie. So then what happens is Van Damme will go, he meets these people that he like works with, and one's like a pretty lady, right? And then what'll happen is he has to go to jail because he thinks that Sandman's at the jail, and since he couldn't kill him the first time with 7 bullets, he figures like he could probably, I don't know, like kill him with like a toothbrush knife or something in jail, which, you know, if I'm honest, it doesn't make too much sense, but, you know, he's kicking ass in this fucking movie. So cool.
Anyway, so that part of it was interesting. It wasn't just it was like a rumor culture on the schoolyard. Mm-hmm. It was like you saw it also like in video game magazines that you expected to be the debunkers of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. Then the second thing with Mortal Kombat was again, pre-internet, so nobody knew all the fatalities when Mortal Kombat 2 came out. Mm-hmm. So it was either Ryan Scott gave them to me or I got a magazine and then wrote them all down. But I would carry around with me, like in my wallet or my back pocket, a list of all the fatalities for all the characters.
You had to be prepared at all times,
just in case.
It's not unlike being an 18-year-old and having condoms on you. It's very similar. You need to be ready for the action, and in this case, the action was doing fatalities in Mortal Kombat.
It's just priorities at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
So my cousin had a friend who was going to drive me somewhere. And he drove, and he was like, oh, I think it was like to the mall. It doesn't matter where it was. There was a Mortal Kombat machine that was there, and he started playing Mortal Kombat just to kill time.
Yeah.
And I went up to him, and I was like, hey, bro.
Yeah. I got my sheet.
And it was just right place, right time. I happen to have a complete list of every fatality, friendship, and babality in Mortal Kombat 2 on my person, ready to whip out for this impromptu visit.
Next to your social security card.
For this impromptu visit to an arcade. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, where the hell did this come from? And then so we stayed there for an extra 45 minutes. And I'm again 13, 14.
Yeah.
He was, I'm going to say 19. So a 19-year-old to a 14-year-old is like the epitome of cool. And I was like, I'm getting so many cool points with this guy right now. He totally thinks I'm awesome. Yeah. This is awesome. I had all these fatalities, right?
I'm going to listen to what he has to say.
I know. What else can you tell me about life, teen father? So we got that. And then the last story was on Street Fighter 2. So you mentioned turbo mode. So code for that, down R, up L, YB start.
There you go.
And so you could buy Street Fighter 2 turbo mode, and it came with default for 4 stars.
Yeah.
But if you put that code in that I just said, you could get up to 10 stars, and then they're like super hyper fighting. They're going like super fast. So that code came out in some magazine or something like that. It changed the game so much, and it was such like a big deal to me at the time that I decided to call up the Nintendo hotline.
Hey, Jeremy, it's Robbie again. I know it's been a while. I'm sorry. I tried to call you a little bit sooner, but I couldn't get to.
Right. Tanya made honor roll. That's great. All right.
I'm so proud of Tanya, Jeremy. Hey, listen, let's wrap Mortal Kombat. I've got some cheats that I got to learn from you.
So, charging my mom $4.95 a minute, I decided to tell the Nintendo hotline about this super scoop that I got.
Right.
That's so cool. So I spent like 15 minutes on the phone with them. Like, did you know that there's this code, and if you put this code in, you get 10 stars in turbo mode?
What did they act like? Oh wow, little buddy. No, thanks for the tip.
So yes, they did do that. It was a woman on the phone. And then she just started just kind of rapping with me about like, so how long have you been playing Street Fighter? Oh, you like it? Okay. Whatever to keep me on the phone.
Yeah.
I was like, man, she's really... Nobody else in my life is this interested in me. I can't get this attention from my own mother. So...
Oh, Nintendo saving the day.
So, this is totally worth the $25 it's going to cost her.
Yeah, totally. And it's her money, so who cares?
This is exceptional. Yeah. So anyway, so I like to think I gave as well as I got.
Yeah.
Nintendo's given me so much over the year.
The least you can do.
I was trying to get back to the community.
It's the least that you can do. Yeah.
So okay, so those are my rumor stories.
Okay.
So.
Well, as we approach the hour mark, let's talk maybe a couple fun modern new rumors and how they may have been deflating, and then we'll wrap it up out of here.
Sure.
So the big one that just happened not that long ago at all, of course, was the Switch Pro rumors that were started by, I believe, Forbes, which is pretty wild. And that's why they were taken like so seriously for such a long period of time.
Oh yeah.
And of course, it came out like actually it's not like a 4K capable Switch. It's just they bought a lot of OLED panels, and
they need to do something
and
with
we're
it.
gonna go ahead and sell you again more Switches, because that's the Nintendo difference. But I mean the entire all gaming fandom, all news sites, everyone they were all the way in like, no, this is happening. Like, we're definitely getting a 4K Switch for sure.
It actually affected my buying decisions because
as
you know,
the Steam Deck, right?
My no, well, not really. What happened was my original Switch, to this day, it's so weird. It works in handheld mode. It does not work in dock mode. I've tried different docks. I've tried a whole bunch of different things. There's some kind of physical defect with it. So I was like, well, I really need to be able to play this in dock mode. So I need to get a new Switch now. And the OLED had already been announced, but there were still these rumors about it. Nintendo. And I was like, dude, if I spend money on this freaking OLED thing, and then Nintendo comes out and announces a Switch Pro,
you're gonna be furious.
I miss out on that. Yeah. I'm gonna be furious. And so what I demanded of Nintendo that they don't release or announce a Switch Pro that's releasing in either holiday 2022 or holiday 2023. They've managed to do that so far. I don't think that there's a Switch Pro coming this holiday season. We would have heard about it by now, right? So you're forgiven, Nintendo. Yeah. But yeah, that was a really, really prominent rumor. So prominent, in fact, that it made me hesitate on getting an OLED Switch, because I thought, well, maybe there's a Switch Pro coming.
Yeah, I think that happened to a lot of people. I remember for a while it was actually pretty easy to buy an OLED, because of this exact reason. Like, you think new Nintendo hardware, it's going to fly off the shelves because that's just historically what it does.
Yeah.
Especially with the Switch. But no, it was for a little while. There was a period where it did go away and you couldn't buy it. But for the initial push of it, you could just walk into a Target and it was there. And I think it's because everyone was just like, this is a cash grab, and we'll wait for the 4K version. But what's another one? What's another modern one that you can think of?
So modern ones... Actually, I don't have an example. I wanted to ask you, though. This is not modern, but when I looked this up online to see internet rumors of old, a couple came up, and I was wondering if you had experience with these, because I didn't. Okay. One was nude Tomb Raider. Was that a thing that was talked about?
So nude Tomb Raider was a total, a bunch of 7th graders spread that around like wildfire, because it's Tomb Raider.
Were you a 7th grader at the time?
So I think Tomb Raider, I was definitely like in 8th grade or
so middle school.
I was middle school or early high. I think I was definitely like middle school when the original Tomb Raider came out. And as I've said on the show before, I was an N64 apologist. So right. I I had no frame of reference with Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
To this day, I've never played the original Tomb Raider for more than like 5 seconds. But yeah, that's an obvious one. The DOA, the Extreme Beach Volleyball was another big one that proliferated the internet. Like, oh, you can see everything in that game. Everything.
The other one that came up all the time was Luigi and Mario 64.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one.
Okay.
And that one was same. Almost going back to your point of anything is possible when you see these things. Well, Yoshi's up there, and Yoshi was the secret.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't Luigi be up there?
Yeah, Luigi.
And if Luigi, if all he is just a green palette swap of Mario, like why? It seems super easy to do. So easy, in fact, that it's kind of weird that there isn't any reference to Luigi in Mario 64 at all.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Do you know Shigeru? Can you ask him about that?
Yeah, I'll call Shiggy.
Yeah.
My dog. What up, Shake Shake? What's the scoop on Luigi?
When I hear somebody refer to somebody as Shiggy, I think of somebody who's in prison right now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
fair enough. That's not our guy.
Although the idea of you trying to get a hold of Shigeru Miyamoto and accidentally talking to Suge Knight is it's funny in my head anyway.
Yeah, funny in your head, maybe not in practice.
Yeah. So the last one, and this one is true. I think you don't know about this, and I can't wait to tell you this if this is true. So speaking of Midway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Midway makes NBA Jam.
Oh yeah.
So if you knew about this is really arcane knowledge. I had no idea. Apparently, the programmer of NBA Jam.
Oh, is this about the team that always wins?
Close. So
yeah.
maybe you have heard about this. It was a Pistons fan.
Mm-hmm.
Pistons and Bulls had a huge rivalry in the early 90s. So he programmed the game so that if you're the Bulls and if you're playing the Pistons, when you take the last shot of the game, it will miss 100% of the time.
I love that.
You cannot win the game on the last shot for the Bulls.
It's so cool.
Yeah, compared to the Pistons. So I read that, and that's more of an obscure fact than a I don't know, a rumor.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was too funny to not bring up on the show.
Well, and that's another one. Like we'll briefly talk about NBA Jam because we do have to wrap it up here. But the NBA Jam, again, another game by Midway, completely loaded with hidden stuff. I'll never forget seeing. The fact that you can play as one President Slick Willie Bill Clinton,
Slick Willie,
and so many. I mean, the entire roster of the Beastie Boys is playable in the original NBA Jam. Like Warren Moon from the Vikings is playable in a basketball game, which is fantastic. But yeah, same thing. Midway was just loaded with that stuff. Midway in the '90s and Secrets and Rumors go hand in hand.
Just hand in hand. Yeah. And then I'll just say quickly that when I went to the first ever BlizzCon. The developers of BlizzCon were talking about like their development process, and this is when the internet is changing rumor culture, and so the fans kept asking questions to the designers of World of Warcraft, and saying, "Hey, could you guys develop a quest that it's an obscure thing and it's way in the corner of the world and nobody really knows about it, and then you find it and it sends you on this," and the lead designers kept saying, "You guys don't get it." With the internet now, there is no more you find this and it's secret only to you. It'll be on the internet in an hour and then everybody has it.
Yes, yeah.
And so at the time, this is 2005, it was thought that like that version of rumor culture was dead. And then, as you correctly pointed out at the beginning of the show, FromSoft came along and found a way, miraculously, to sort of resurrect that sensation.
Yeah, totally.
Without while having the internet be a presence in all of our lives. So it's really, really impressive that they did that. And so rumor culture now, you tell me if it's different for you, but aside from the FromSoft stuff, it's a lot of like product releases, and it's like this is coming out. So you talked about like the Switch Pro as being a thing.
Yeah,
may be a thing, may not be a thing. Is a particular game coming out? You know, we did a Metroid show. It's like, oh, when Metroid Prime release date is going to be announced here. Or actually, the one that comes up all the time. When's the next Nintendo Direct? Oh, we hear a rumor it's coming in June, and then June comes around. It's like, is it coming?
Well, the whole concept of knowing release dates of when these games are coming out that didn't really happen until like, there's some examples of it. Mortal Monday, it's I believe September 13th. There's Sonic Tuesday was the other big one.
Blood in Mortal Kombat 1. We talked about all the fighting games. Blood in Mortal Kombat for
for the Genesis only.
But
ABACABB.
So that, and then the rumor of making Blood possible in the Super Nintendo version
with Game Genie.
Yeah, it was but it was also an internet rumor that like, if you did a certain code with or without Game Genie, you could get it, but then you couldn't.
It is available with Game Genie, but you don't get normal fatalities. They literally just color the sweat, which is it's supposed to be sweat. They just make it red, and so like, okay, it's blood. But yeah, man, like. I think to your point where like the wrap up point here is like the culture of these rumors is different now, where it is like I think it's a lot more people follow the business side of these things now, and like the companies make it so much easier for you to follow the business side of stuff. So it's really more about like, is this game coming out or not, or like this rumored release coming out or when, and all that stuff. Where back in the day, game rumors were really based around like what's in this game. And so, that's totally what's changed.
A really good point. Thank you for saying that way, because I actually wrote notes trying to come up with like how we're going to end this episode and how the internet really changed how rumor culture is. And it's exactly that. Yeah. It used to be about stuff in the game. Now it's about the game or the game industry.
Yeah, like the product itself, not what's contained within.
So like there was a long form article about Shadow of Colossus, because that game, just when you play it, it's like there's secrets galore. I don't know what they are, but it feels like there's secret stuff in here. And it talked about some kid who would come home from school every day and for 3 hours try to latch onto some bird and try to get behind a waterfall or something like that. And he was just certain that there was something back there. And it's a very sort of From Software type thing where he was going to be the first person to discover it. Turns out once the game was ported onto PC, and then you could use hack software to actually see what's back there.
Like clip through it or whatever.
Yeah. It's like, there's nothing there. You just wasted your entire summer, kid. So good job. But that, and then I forgot, I think it's Ars Technica. Right? They did like I actually added the words. They did a 3,000 word article on just that kid trying to get that secret. Yeah. So it's like, but that's what it used to be. And it's not like that anymore. And I do miss that part of it, but I'm also thankful for From Software for doing better than anybody else is.
Picking up the reins on it.
Of,
for sure.
of allowing it to still be there.
Yeah. So that is rumors. Wait. Shh. And yeah, it's a fun thing. It's been a part of video games for forever. It has changed, but it's still part of video games.
Still part. Big part.
And like we've said several times, those Souls games, baby.
Yeah.
If you like this kind of stuff, those games are for you.
Yeah. If you're into video games, you might want to check out a Souls game.
yeah.
Or Bloodborne. Up to you.
Midlife Krisis recommended to you.
Yeah. Or Elden Ring. It's up to you, but that is a free tip from us to you.
Hot free tips. We're full of them here, and we're full of more content, which will be coming very soon. Thank you so much. Gentleman's Pounder handshake.
All right.
Obviously, forgot, been kind of slacking off here. Forgot unboxing time. So there's some jacket with all the appropriate written words here and there, and then of course we have big ass fucking CD. That's the Laserdisc difference, right? Boom! God, I love these fucking things. They're so huge. Hold on. Gotta secure it. Hold on a minute. Hold on. So, okay, Death Warrant. Let's get down to review time. So Van Damme in the movie, he gets a fake wife, and then there's a scene where they're in like a trailer and they're pretending, and then like, you know what happens. You know what happens, ladies. Am I right? At the end of the day, this is another masterpiece from our guy. It just kind of always like makes my wheels turn in here about like how much he's good at making movies and how other people are just fucking terrible at it. Like, why would if you can have spin kicks in your movies, why wouldn't you have spin kicks in your movies, right? That should be like across the board. So anyway, Laserdisc fam, I love you so fucking much. And that's why I keep doing this, because I want to like help out with the community and just kind of like give back like you've given to me. So like and subscribe. More of these coming down the pipe, right? Real quick, a little while ago, of course I reviewed Cool as Ice with Vanilla, and one thing I didn't get off my chest initially about the movie that I wanted to talk about now, right, is motorcycle safety, okay? So there are several scenes in the movie that our hero is not wearing a helmet, okay? Do not do that. That is a Laserdisc don't. We wear helmets when we ride motorbikes, everybody, okay? So I love you very much. Wear your helmet. Thank you. As always, like and subscribe, okay?